I am thrilled to be here today and have this platform to talk about something that I am passionate about, and that's cities. Yes, I love cities. And for someone that grew up in small East Tennessee towns, lived in the suburbs, and never even got on an airplane until I was in college, I've often wondered, where did that passion come from? My sister tells me, even though I don't remember it, that when we were small and dreaming about our future, her dream was always living in the country, surrounded by lots of animals, but my dream was living right in the heart of a city. Perhaps that seed was planted early on, like a lot of great ideas back then, through the power of the television sitcom. Because you see, in the early 70s, Mary Tyler Moore would come into my living room weekly. I guess you could say she was one of my first role models. A woman with a career, a challenging job, a cool apartment, dating cool boyfriends. It seemed awesome and very exotic at the time. I loved this city, but I didn't always. You see, after I graduated from college, I did what a lot of people did back then. We left for other opportunities. There definitely weren't many options here at the time. The city seemed to have lost its way. It had no real personality or no direction. In fact, other than the great memories I have while being on the UTC campus, the only other strong memory I have, and believe me, it was strong, was the smell of Crystal hamburgers. Because you see, during college, I worked part-time right across the street from the original location of the Crystal, downtown at the corner of Cherry and 7th. This is what our downtown looked like back in the 80s. Why would I remember it? It wasn't very memorable, and it wasn't very lovable. As I embarked on my career, traveling and seeing more of the country, the more I felt drawn to the energy and the vibrancy of the city I was in at that time. I wasn't a city planner or an architect or an urbanist. I was an art major, for heaven's sake. But this draw was something that was just intuitive. I loved the hustle and the bustle. I loved walking and being part of something bigger. I loved the shopping and the restaurants. But most of all, I just loved the experience. As I embarked on my career and really discovered what I loved about cities, the more I loved being part of all the cities. 23 years I was away from downtown Chattanooga. I experienced this city as an onlooker. I never really felt connected. In fact, my husband, who's not a Chattanooga native, said the only thing he remembered about Chattanooga at that time was that polo outlet at Warehouse Row, because that's where we spent most of our time. But over those years, things started changing. First, a few good local restaurants. Then, the beginning of the Riverwalk, the opening of the aquarium, the 21st century waterfront. And over the course of those years, I started to feel this city call me home. Have you ever felt that about a place? That it's a place that you belong, that it knows you, and you know it? Well, that's what I felt 12 years ago when I felt the call of this city, and we moved back to Chattanooga. Here I am in my mid-50s, living out my childhood dream. I am the Mary Tyler Moore of Market Street, living, working, and playing right in the heart of the city. A woman with a career, a challenging job, a cool condo, and for 26 years, a pretty cool husband. But most of all, I have this city to savor and enjoy and be part of. I have the pleasure of waking up early each morning and heading out with my dog Bella for our 2-mile trek through my neighborhood, downtown Chattanooga. I guess you could say Bella's my personal trainer, because if you've ever seen us out walking, you would definitely know she's the one in charge. But it's during those walks that I get to experience what makes Chattanooga so special to me. We start through the middle of the UTC campus, and I feel the energy of young college students out early in the morning, or perhaps more likely coming in from a late night before. And no matter how many times I walk through the center of this campus, I still get this sense of pride welling up inside of me in awe of its beauty and great tradition. We go downtown and I pass workers cleaning off the downtown sidewalks and blowing off the courthouse lawn. I see familiar joggers and other dog walkers. And even though we may not know each other's names, We're all part of the same neighborhood, and we nod and say hello or good morning. I go through my favorite part of town, the Bluffview Arts District. See world-famous sculptures overhanging the cliffs, smell the bread baking in the bakery, and if I time it just right, I can be on the overlook right as the sun is rising over the Tennessee River. This is my city, and I feel at one with it. We go past the Hunter Art Museum, over the glass bridge, see the glimpse of the aquarium peaks, and by the time I'm in the middle of the Walnut Street Bridge, I'm surrounded by other walkers and joggers of all ages, sizes, and ethnic backgrounds. This is their city too. The morning is a special time. It's quieter than normal, and I can feel the heartbeat of this city. It is beating, it's vibrant, and it makes me feel alive. Yes, I love this city. If I ask you to close your eyes and think about your favorite place in the city, what would it look like, and where would it be? I bet just thinking about it brings a smile to your face and conjures up great memories. Well, what I have come to learn and really appreciate is that special places and amazing cities don't happen by accident, and we can never take them for granted. To get from this to this, it takes bold vision. Sometimes it takes courage, and it always takes generosity of spirit. It was the early 80s. Our city was in crisis. Manufacturing jobs were gone, our downtown was a wasteland, and confidence non-existent. The question on everyone's mind then was, now what? Well, in 1983, over the course of a year, over 1,700 people came out to explore that, answer that question, and reimagine our city. Now, at the time, this kind of community visioning process was unheard of. Today, we do it so often, it's in our DNA. It has its own name. It's the Chattanooga way, the way we move our city forward by gathering the community together. But back then, we were in a crisis mode. Every option needed to be considered, and that's what they did. They met, put ideas on flip charts, voted, debated, and set priorities. And then this community got to work. Save the Tivoli Theater, check. Build walking paths along the river, check. Build a downtown hotel, check. Create workforce housing, check. And then an architecture student had perhaps the boldest idea of all. Reconnect our city to the river by building an aquarium at Chattanooga's birthplace in Ross's Landing. Now, are you kidding me? Remember, this was in the 80s, and there were only a handful of aquariums even in existence. And if this idea wasn't bold enough, our city took it one step further. It couldn't be just any aquarium. It had to tell the Chattanooga story. It had to be a freshwater aquarium. Now, can you imagine the rants in the paper, talk radio, the naysayers? Who in the world would come and look at catfish? But bold visionaries are not deterred. And we had one of the boldest in our midst, Jack Lupton, and he personally took this project on. The cynics came out and said, oh, it's going to wastefully use tax dollars, even though the money was being privately raised. They called it Jack's fish tank. They said it would be a boondoggle, that our city would be a laughingstock, but they were wrong. 1.5 million people came out to see the aquarium. It set the record. It put our city on the map. In fact, it has set the standard for every successful project we have done in the city since. $121 million waterfront, built in 3 years with no local tax dollars, check. Fastest internet in the world, check. One-of-a-kind climbing wall right in the heart of our downtown, check. Not one, but 2 Volkswagen manufacturing plants, check, check. And we've never looked back. This city was built on bold vision. So now people are still saying, now what? But not because we're in crisis, because we know now anything is possible, and it's in great anticipation of what's next. 175 years ago, our city was founded on the banks of the Tennessee River. Since then, historic buildings and neighborhoods have been built, and some have been torn down in the name of progress. Cameron Hill, one of our most beautiful neighborhoods in the city, was torn down and the hill cut down in order to build an interstate right through the middle of our city. This was done in spite of protest and outcry. Historic churches torn down for parking lots. A beautiful train depot torn down for office buildings. So all of this is part of the Chattanooga story and our story. So sometimes you lose the battle, but it doesn't mean it's not worth the fight. One of the things we almost lost was the Walnut Street Bridge. Built in 1891 by Union soldiers, this bridge was our first connection to both sides of the river. It's what created development on the North Shore. I remember driving over this bridge in the early 80s, but in the late 80s, it was deemed unsafe for vehicular traffic, and it was going to be torn down with $1 million price tag. Now, can you imagine our city without this beautiful bridge? Well, thankfully, others couldn't imagine it either. There were a group of community activists working at that time, and they started receiving phone calls about people that wanted to save the bridge. Now, you have to remember, this was way before Facebook and Twitter, when you can send out a message and get thousands of followers. They had to do this the old-fashioned way. So they went to the Riverbend Festival and started surveying people, asking if they wanted the bridge to be saved. Well, you know the rest of the story. The bridge is here. It really tugged at people's heartstrings. They loved this bridge. The bridge was saved with a $5 million price tag. The value to our community, priceless. Where else can you walk your dog, enjoy wine over water, cheer on the rowing regatta, listen to the symphony, or just savor a quiet moment? This is the People's Bridge, a bridge used and loved by everyone. So sometimes it takes courage. It takes the courage to fight for things worth saving or ideas that need changing. Our city has been blessed with generous foundations that have invested in the future of our city. Not only have they helped us envision a better city, they've invested in order to make it happen. The Lyndhurst Foundation changed the direction of our community back in the 80s when they changed their way of giving. Instead of sprinkling dollars to organizations throughout the city, they made the strategic decision to put big dollars behind bold visions. Investing in our downtown, in the arts, in neighborhoods, and urban design made us a better, different city. The Benwood Foundation followed suit, investing in underserved neighborhoods and public education. And we have a multitude of other generous foundations and individuals that have now created this unbelievable generosity of spirit that permeates throughout our whole city. We have over 900 nonprofits actively working in our city. And our level of giving in Chattanooga is twice that of the national average. We've moved our community forward by all of us giving back. But that doesn't mean the work is finished. Even though we've created this wonderful city over a 30-year renaissance with vision and courage and generosity, you may be asking, now what? Well, we know our work's not finished. Even though now is a time that we're one of the top communities in the country. There's never been a more exciting time to be in Chattanooga. A vibrant downtown, a growing student population, unbelievable job growth. We're on the short list of just about any top 10 accolade you can imagine. But there's still work to do. We have real issues with diversity and public education. We're a city divided not only by a concrete highway, but sometimes by lack of shared opportunity. What would our city look like if that weren't the case? What would the conversations look like? How great would Chattanooga be that we tell the world about what a special place we are, but we also make sure that it's special and vibrant. It's a place of equal opportunity and safety for everyone. Yes, for 30 years we've built an amazing city, but in the end, the heart of a city isn't a building. The heart of a city is the people, and that means it's you. Especially you, the younger generation. We need you. We need you to stay here and invest here. We want you to raise your families here. We want to have you share your ideas here. We want to put your passion to work here. Let's tackle the tough issues with bold vision and action, ignoring the naysayers. Let's be courageous and take a stand for those things that need saving and those ideas that need changing. Let's be active and involved in giving. Let's take this conversation to every corner of the city and make sure that Chattanooga is an amazing and special place for every Chattanoogan. We know it's possible. We've seen great turnarounds before. We just need to make it happen. Thank you.